Okay, well, this is the final of the lesson videos for how to find solutions to multiple problems. We have now with one with a square, but as you can see right here, we got this good old 2x right there, which means we're going to have multiple answers instead of just a basic problem, which does also have multiple answers, but we'll just have more than 2 or 4. So without further ado, first off, what we're going to do is when you solve any trig functions, use a little algebra, okay, and solve the trig function. So we want to get sine of 2x by itself. So to do that, we're going to divide by 2 both sides, and we'll have 1 over 2. The next thing is we want to get rid of this square. So in order to get rid of the square, we're going to take the square root. So we have sine of 2x, and that's going to equal the square root of 1/2. Remember, when you do the square root, you have to bring the plus and minus. And so what that's going to be is plus or minus 1 over the square root of 2. Now, this, like all of our other ones, is a basic one, and we're going to use, we don't have to use a calculator because we can graph this, try to figure out our answer. And so we're talking about sine, and we're talking about square root of 2 over 2. Well, sine is positive in the first, and also sine y in the second quadrant. And we also have where it's negative in here and here. And so we have our 1, 2, 3, 4 answers. We have 1 and radical 2, and we'll have 1 and radical 2, and this was going to be negative 1 and radical 2, and negative 1 and radical 2. Well, we know that that's going to be a pi over 4, a 45-degree angle when we solving this, because now we're going to solve this using the inverse trig function. And so when we take the inverse trig both sides, oopsies, it's going to be 2x. We're going to have the inverse trig of sine of 1 over the square root of 2. And we'll also have 2x equaling in the inverse sine of negative 1 over the square root of 2. So we know that this, as we said right here, are going to give us some answers of 2x equaling pi over 4. And also, we're going to have some other answers of 2x equaling, all right, 3 pi over 4. Because that's when it's going to be positive. We also have 2x equaling 5 pi over 4. Another one equaling, it's going to be 7 pi over 4. There we go. And that's what we got. Now, like all the other ones, because we have a b value greater than 1, we're going to have, well, in this case, twice as many answers. And if you haven't figured that out, this will basically tell us how many answers more we're going to have for each one. So we're going to have twice as many, because what we're going to do is we're going to add 2 pi n to each one of these. Oops, not equaling. We're going to add 2 pi n to find out all our other solutions. And then we're going to divide by 2 plus 2 pi n here plus 2 pi n. Okay, so to do this, now we're going to have all these set up, and now we're going to divide by 2 both sides. And when we do that, this is going to turn into x equals pi over 8 plus, all right, what we have is 2 pi n over 2. We'll have this other one, x equals 3 pi over 8 plus 2 pi n over 2. Then we'll have this other one. Oops, keep on writing different things. We have x equaling 5 pi over 8 plus 2 pi n over 2. And then the fourth one, we're going to have x equaling 7 pi over 8. And I don't know why I have an 8 right there, 7 pi over 4. Also, I apologize for that. Hopefully you figured it out. 2 pi n over 2. And that's what we have right there. Okay, from here, we know we're going to have this. So if you take this right here, and we want to figure this out, what we're going to have is, well, we're going to have 8 over 8 right there, and we're going to go through and figure out all of our different answers and all the different solutions for this problem. So when n equals 0, and maybe I'll go through and find out each one of these individually. So when n equals 0, we know we'll have pi over 8 This is going to be 3 pi over 8. And this is going to be 5 pi over 8. And this is going to be 7 pi over 8. Oh, wow, it switched. Did you see that? All right, 7 pi over 8. Now, when we have n equaling 1, what happens here? Well, x equals pi over 8. And then what we have right here, this is going to be, well, we have to get a common denominator. So it's going to be 8 pi over 8, which is going to give us 9 pi over 8. I apologize, my smartboard's kind of going a little crazy right now. Next one is we're going to have, back to blue again, when n equals 1, we're going to have, yes, 3 pi over 8. We're going to add that to 8 pi over 8. Okay, because those are going to be the same. And that's going to give us 11 pi over 8. We're going to have 5 pi over 8, once again, plus the 11 pi over 8, which is going to give us, what is that, 16 pi over 8. Okay, and if you have that gone right now, we have to figure out, okay, how many solutions do we have and how far are we going to go? Because right here, we cannot go past, remember, stop. We have to stop at 2 pi. Because if you recall up here, we probably should have figured that out. Stop at 2 pi. We have to find, we solve for our variable. We found our solutions. Stop at 2 pi. Well, in this case, what is 2 pi? Well, that's 16 pi over 8. Oh, wow. 16 pi over 8. Well, on this case, 16 pi over 8, well, that appears to be what we have right here when we went to n equaling 1 right there. So really, we can't go any farther than this. And actually, this one doesn't count because we can't go to 2 pi. So really, our solutions are pi over 8, 3 pi over 8, 5 pi over 8, 7 pi over 8, 9 pi over 8, 11 pi over 8, and in this case, it's going to be, oops, I screwed up. Once again, you gotta love it. In my horrible math, 5 pi over 8 plus 8 over 8 is going to equal 13 pi over 8. Now that one still works. So we have that one. And if we go one more, we actually should be 7 pi over 8 plus 8 pi over 8. Well, 8 plus 7 is 15 pi's over 8. And guess what? That is our last answer. Once again, verifies what we have right here. We had a b value, which was 2. We know we're going to have multiple solutions. We knew through this process because we had the plus or minus. We originally had, without the 2, we would have 4 solutions, looking at our little graph. And then when we take and find out all of them, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It doubled the amount we had. Just be careful when you're doing your math. You saw how I screwed up. All right, it can happen. Just be careful when you're doing it. You can verify this on your calculator as well by taking this value and plugging it in. So if you want to take a moment and do that, we can verify this. So if you take out your calculator, which hopefully you just did, and you plugged it in, like I did right here, remember sine of 2x, that's quantity squared, so we have to write it like so. There is no way of putting that square in here with your calculator. The 1, I put there in the y2. Once again, check out your window. We're going from 0 to 2 pi. Pi over 12 is our 1 values. And then from here, we're going to go from -5 to 5. And so we're going to graph this. And when we graph this, we can see all the different values. How many are we looking for? We're looking for 8 total. We have that. And if we see this right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. If you go to second calculate, you can actually trace this and find the intersection. All right. So if you go right here, we'll find this one right here. So this is 3 pi over 8. So if you go like right there, we can just figure out one of these values. Press enter again, and it's guessing, and it'll give us a solution 3.534, which is, that's the 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth solution, 3.14. Fifth solution is going to be 9 pi over 8. If you go over here and plug that in there, go to trace 9 pi divided by 8. Well, what do you know? Same thing. Okay, and you can do that and verify it for every single one. Press trace or find the intersection, but that's how you can get your values. Okay, so we solved for the trig. We knew how to graph it, both using a unit circle and also the calculator. Solving using inverses, solve for variables, find all the solutions. All right, and it gets a little more complicated when you have that, but you have to first solve for x first. Okay, so then solve for the variable. When you get that, remember, whenever you have a b other than a b, you have to add the coterminal values and divide by that entire expression when you have that. Okay, be careful when you're going about and doing this. Okay, and so yeah, I hope that helps you out on how to solve those. Maybe some other videos in the future, but for right now, let's see if this works out. So good luck and God bless on the remaining parts of your problem.